Yes. Okay, class. We're doing Chapter 9 Marketing Management Build the Brand. Wow, build the brand. That sounds like a real serious topic here. Brand is very important. Many times it's the brand that will save you from bad economic times, people, or even from poor designs. Like many times when Apple in the past, and I'm a big fan of Apple, I actually own Apple stock. Um, I noticed when they went from the 5 to the 6, there wasn't much of a difference, and also from the 6 to the 7. And I was wondering to myself, they're really not differentiating themselves from one model to the next. So why in the world would anybody stick with that? So the answer that I got from people that I spoke to is because of the brand. The brand is pervasive. People like the brand. They got used to it. They grew up on it. So it's kind of like a cult of personality kind of situation. So Chapter 9, Building the Brand. So our learning objectives is to recognize the essential elements in a brand, learn the importance of brand equity, how people perceive it, the worth that people give it, and product strategy, explain the role of packaging and labeling as critical brand elements. So important to have that, what we call like the eye, the aesthetic, the eye has to be aesthetically pleased. Define the responsibility of warranties and no, oh, I'm sorry. Let me share the screen. Okay, apologize. I just had a technical moment. We just had so much stuff going on, so many presenters. I have to reshare the screen. That's probably what happens when you make someone a co-host. It automatically descreens you. Do you see my screen right now? Okay, so let's move in. Also, the final one is to define the responsibility of warranties and services agreements in building consumer confidence. Now, I could tell you this. I'm not going to mention which brand because I don't want to be, in trouble with libel and all that. I had just bought a piece of furniture, and they totally misrepresented everything. I explained to the customer service person who was trying to help me, and she was trying to help me in earnest, that the people in the store lied to her, misrepresented what I said, and I said to her that if I'm not going to be satisfied at the end of this, I have no choice but to go to social media and just tell people about my displeasure. And that's basically suicide in today's day and age. Because if your warranties or your promises don't mean anything, promise made, promise not kept, then that's what will be your epitaph. That'll be your quote unquote business tombstone. Everyone will just know you as the company that promises the world, and then you get stuck in outer space like myself right now with my background. You get into trouble that way. And the internet is unforgiving. That's why if you do something stupid and you post something stupid about yourself, it's there forever. Remember always when you post something online about yourself, make sure it's absolutely edited and perfect and there's nothing there that you are going to be embarrassed about later on. All right, moving right along. Brand strategy. Let's discuss it. Let me just blow up the screen a bit. Let me just do this. All right. Branding strategy is an integral part of the product development process because companies know that successful new products result from a well-conceived brand strategy. So whether the customer is a consumer or another business, in other words, whether there's B2C, business to consumer, or B2B, business to business, brands have three primary roles. First, brand conveys information about the product, which is always very important because that's essentially what people are looking for first. So without any additional data, customers construct expectations about quality, service, and even features based on the brand. Brands also educate the customer about the product. People assign meaning to their product experiences by brand and over time make judgments about which brands are the best at meeting their needs and which are not. And this is all over time. As a result, product evaluations and purchase decisions become less formidable as the customer relies on the cumulative brand experience to simplify the purchase process. In simple English, when you're used to a good brand, you don't go through this whole laborious, let me start thinking, should I buy, should I not buy? If somebody tells you, hey, I got you an Apple Watch, you're not going to say, you bought me. If your spouse or your parents bought you an Apple Watch, would you look at it with disgust or would you look at it like, wow, that's so nice of you? You tell me. You would look at it with like, wow, that's really nice. If somebody bought you an iPad as a gift, would you say, ugh? If somebody bought you a Samsung S20 Plus, would you say, what a lousy phone? No, you'd be like very happy. Even though you may know nothing about the product. You don't know from Adam. It's your first smartphone. But everybody knows Samsung. Everybody knows Apple. Everybody knows these products. So they ascribe almost mythical attributes to it, like it could fly. Now, it's dangerous when you have such a good brand name and then you disappoint people with a real big bomb. For example, I believe it was 1985 when Coca-Cola decided that its share of the cola market would be endangered if they don't change the formula for Coca-Cola. So they didn't listen to the old adage of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They came up with their new Coke, which on the front end seemed like this messiah, so to speak, of colas that would save and redeem all colas from cola boredom, and it was an absolute disaster. I mean, I remember as a child, and children, especially children of impressionable age, 12, 11, I remember, all the hype about New Coke, running to Mr. Bruno's store, this little hole in the wall owned by this old Italian man that probably came to Ellis Island in 1910 from Sicily. Really nice, old, cute man. And, the ones with the cans all stocked up all the way to the ceiling. The health department would have shut them down in today's day and age. But in those days, it was acceptable. And I said, Mr. Bruno, where is the new Coke? And he pointed it out there, and it was like, ah. And I looked at it. The can was beautiful, gold lettering, cool font, everything. Took it with me, opened it up, drank it. And I'm like, I don't want to say what brand it tasted like, but it didn't taste, it tasted like anything that I've had out there. It wasn't so bad. It wasn't like bad. It wasn't like I was drinking mouthwash, but I just, it was such a letdown. This is what New Coke is. It's no different than all the other prevailing brands that existed out there at the time. And that really damaged Coke's brand so much that I remember people in uproar. They would be, can you imagine, people are so bored, I guess the world was so much at peace at the time where there was nothing else to bother people. They were calling up Coca-Cola and complaining to them vociferously and saying, oh my gosh, this is really, really bad. I hate this. So you got to be very careful of your brand. A third brand role is to help reassure the customer in their purchase. Again, this is a part of the second one really, but reassuring is always important because there's always something called cognitive dissonance, post-purchase regret. I shouldn't have done it. Why did I do it? And as long as, like no one's going to say, do you think I did the right thing by buying a Mercedes? No one's going to say that. You're not going to, I don't know, should I have bought Louis Vuitton? You think it's a good bag? Right? If any of you got a Louis Vuitton bag, would any of you say like, I don't know, should I keep it? Is it something good? Somebody got you a Rolex. I don't know, is Rolex any good? No one gets a Rolex and like, you sure it's a good watch? Doesn't happen. It never does happen because the brand is so redemptive. It automatically gives you like a free pass. But the taller they are, the harder they fall. Because if you build up this boogeyman, this thing like, oh my gosh, it's awesome, and then it's a big flop. I'm not talking about like a little thing, not being so good. I'm talking about being a major flop. It's going to have massive, massive negative repercussions. Okay, slide 5. Any questions thus far, ladies? Anybody? Okay. Brands convey information about the product. Brands educate the customer about the product. Brands help reassure the customer in the purchase decision, as mentioned before. Company brand roles. Brands offer legal protection for the product through a trademark, making sure that it's not going to be stolen. Brands offer an effective, and efficient methodology for categorizing products. Right? How do you categorize something as being luxurious versus economical? Well, branding comes in and helps you with that. 7, competitor brand roles. So we're going to talk about brands playing many roles vis-a-vis competitors. Market-leading brands provide competitors with a benchmark against which to compete. For example, Huawei, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Huawei and LG compare their smartphones to brands like Samsung and Apple to get noticed. Now, although Huawei is a massive Chinese entity, and I know now with COVID and China wanting to take over the world and having bad connection with Huawei is kind of like the boogeyman out there, but Huawei is a very formidable cell phone company. They actually came up with that foldable phone a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember that phone. But LG, Huawei, these quote-unquote wannabe bigger companies compare themselves to the big boys for a reason. Because by benchmarking, you know that you have to be at least this good. That's the minimum acceptable level. You want to be better than that, but you have to be at least as this good. Slide 8. A good branding strategy will not overcome a poorly designed product that fails to deliver on the value proposition. So you could do all the great marketing, but at essence, the branding is only as good as the quality of the product itself and how it's positioned. Counterfeit products or illegal activities conducted under the name of another company's brand can do significant damage to the brand. By the way, when a company, and this is kind of connected to this in a sense, if you're a well-known entity and you license your brand, in other words, you allow some other company to use this name of yours. For example, if you're Porsche, all right, Porsche. Like I said, if somebody bought you a Porsche for your birthday, nobody here would say, "Ugh, what a disgusting car, Porsche." Unless it's for, because you don't like German cars because of the Holocaust and all that. And I understand that. I'm just saying in general, somebody bought you an Infiniti. Right? No one would say, "Ugh," right? But if Infiniti, Porsche, all these known brand names lend their name to something. So for example, let's say Porsche puts their name on a racing bicycle, right? And racing bicycles are super crazy expensive items. I don't know why, they just are. And that bicycle is a bomb. What happens? It schleps, it brings that entire brand name down with it. So in essence, you have to be very careful. It's like you have to pick your friends very carefully. If you have a bad cadre of friends, don't be surprised if there's an FBI raid and all of a sudden you're in jail because you happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. The same is true with a product. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and you associate something with something negative, it's going to haunt you. It's going to hurt you very, very badly. Number 9, defining brand equity, a set of assets and liabilities linked to a brand's name and symbol that adds to or subtracts from the value provided by a product or service to a firm or that firm's customers. And brand equity is very much connected to customers' perception of the product and the brand. All right, so we have the defining brand equity, we have brand awareness, brand loyalty, perceived quality, brand association, and brand assets. Let's look at some of these. Let's blow up the screen a bit over here. So again, I have the luxury, and you all do, because you all have access to it through Canvas. You have the full instructor's version of the PowerPoint, which comes with all this nice stuff at the bottom, this commentary. So brand awareness is the most basic form of brand equity. Is simply being aware of the brand, which is important. And that's step 1. You need to make sure that people know about it. Awareness is the foundation of all the brand relationships. Nothing can happen without having awareness. So it signals a familiarity and potential commitment to the brand. Brand loyalty, this is the strongest form of brand equity and reflects a commitment to repeat purchases. Loyal customers are reassured by the brand and are often ambassadors to new customers. Loyal customers enable a company to reduce marketing costs, leverage trade relationships, and speak to competitive threats with greater success. Perceived quality, brands convey a perception of quality that is either positive or negative. Companies use a positive perceived quality to differentiate the product and create higher price points. For example, Rolex watches have been able to sustain a price premium, and a price premium is a nice way of saying an expensive price, long into their life cycle because of the perceived quality and design and performance of the product. Do a Google search of used Rolex watches and you'll be amazed at how much of its original value it keeps. Okay, and sometimes it goes up in value if it's something sought after. Brand association, customers develop a number of emotional, psychological, and performance associations, and that's where the disappointment can kick in. If, let's say somebody says sports car, what comes to mind? Michal, if I tell you sports car, red sports car, what comes to your mind? Exactly. So if, let's say, I gave you a Porsche or a Ferrari for your, 21st birthday, all right? And, okay, all right, so whatever. Would you be like, okay, you drive the car and like, oh, this thing's 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. You'd be like, really? Are you sure this is a Porsche? Like, is this like off-brand, or this is the real deal? It would destroy it destroys it because you have a perceived quality in it. Yeah, imagine you go into a Tesla and the ride is super noisy. Like, really? It's supposed to be silent. Because right, you would be, you would totally be like, okay, this is really really bad news, and rightfully so, for that reason, because you have certain expectations. Brand assets. Brands possess other assets such as trademarks and patents that represent a significant competitive advantage. Google is very protective of its search algorithm intellectual property, which in view of the company gives the company a significant advantage over other search engines. And again, I don't want to get banned by Google, but Google has had its issues with sharing people's information and whatnot. I still love Google. I don't think anybody. I think without Google, the world would be a place where getting information and knowledge would be very very hard. And I could appreciate Google because I remember what Google was in 2003 when I really first started teaching, like seriously, not just a summer course here and there. And I was like, I thought it was the most amazing thing. But if I would compare that 2003 version of Google to what we have now, I'm like, that wouldn't even be Bing on its best day. It wouldn't be, I don't know, whatever other Yahoo. It like right now, it's so much better. And there are little nuances that you don't even pick up. Like I did a search of something, so it already gave me part of the information I was looking for just in the ribbon without even having to actually open it up. It already gave me some information to help me discern. Like they always come up, I always feel about Google that they're always coming up with something to make it easier for you. And it's always like convenient. It's always like, oh yeah, that's really neat. And that makes it so much easier for me. It's like they think of making it more accessible. So here's some most valuable brands based, well, this is very old, but in 2007, I'm wondering why it's so old. Usually, this is a pretty recent book, but all right. Google was the most, it was the best brand. It's actually, I don't know why it says Business Week, August 6, 2007, when it says here, what does it say here, 2016? Okay, whatever. I guess there's a error here that the printer made. But anyway, in 2016, it was Google, Apple, Microsoft, AT&T, Facebook, Visa, Amazon, Verizon, McDonald's, IBM. I would venture to say that Amazon is probably all the way up here, maybe even eclipsing Google. Amazon had tremendous growth during the pandemic. Slide 12, brand equity, customers, sponsors, and benefits. Customers, perceived quality gives them a reason to buy. Why do you buy something? There's a certain perceived quality. Brand connections. Customers seek information on familiar brands. Strong brands generate positive attitude. And that's really what it is. When you have that positive energy, it's infectious, and other customers pick up on it. And brand loyalty. Brand loyal customers spend less time in the purchase decision. Brand sponsor, extend the product range, price premium, meaning the ability to charge more, and it differentiates in the marketplace. Brand connections, strong brands, create a barrier for competitors. New brand. Brand loyalty reduces marketing costs, gives channel leverage, word of mouth, and forgiving customers. Linking strategy to benefit, builds quality into the entire customer experience. Brand connections extend the brand to new products. And brand loyalty, marketers have more flexible budgets as such. Okay, slide 13. Branding decisions, standalone or family. Standalone brands separate the company from the brand, which insulates the company if there is a problem with the brand. It's like the CIA and special forces. If you are caught by the enemy, we will not come rescue you. We don't know you. Okay, I know it sounds a little weird, but it's like we'll associate with you if you're successful, but if you fail, you're not a part of us. So standalone brands separate the company from the brand, which insulates the company if there is a problem with the brand, but are expensive and offer little or no synergy between company brands. For example, Unilever personal care products, such as Axe, Dove, Lifebuoy, Lux, Pond's, Rexona, Sunsilk, and Vaseline. Family branding advantages and disadvantages are just the opposite. One negative in it reflects all things. For example, Heinz ketchup and other condiments. Now let's see what we have over here. It is interesting to note that Lever Brothers stands alone branding allows it to offer competing messages. Dove's Real Beauty Campaign Championship, Everyday's Women, while Axe branding has been criticized as being hypersexualized. So you have one spectrum here, another spectrum there. Okay, let's move on to slide 15. National or store branding. National brands that are sold around the country under the same brand create efficiencies in marketing, communications, and distribution, higher perceived quality and price. Store brands are when large retailers create a store brand to market their own products. Store contracts with national manufacturers like Procter & Gamble and compete with national brands through lower pricing. And again, lower pricing helps because there are a lot of people out there, especially now with being out of work, pandemic and whatnot, lower incomes, they're companies like Walmart are thriving. And like even my wife was telling me, she's like, when I broke my arm, okay, I got to get you shirts. I said, why don't you go for this and this company? Because why should I pay $3 or $4 more a shirt? I'll go to Walmart. And she made sense because you're not going to wear these shirts anymore after you're well. You're not going to wear a 4X or a 3X when you're a 1X or a 2X. You're not going to do that. So in her mind, she thinks, okay, lower price, Walmart, decent quality, why not? Licensing, and I mentioned this before with the example of the bicycle and Porsche. Licensing, companies can also choose to extend their brand by licensing, offering other manufacturers the right to use the brand in exchange for a set fee or percentage of sales. Little risk, I wouldn't say it's little risk, but all right, generates additional revenue, extends the brand and builds brand association with new users, must be monitored closely for product quality and brand image protection. That's really very, very important. Co-branding joins two or more well-known brands in a common product that takes two brands and markets them in partnership. Soft drinks and Splenda. So you'll have like let's say, I'm just using this as an example, you'll have a Diet Pepsi, and then you'll have the Splenda festooned or printed on the can. Right? Intel Inside logo. You'll have a Dell computer co-branded with Intel. And again, each company has to check each other out and make sure that they want to be associated with each other. I just want to check the comments over here. Okay, there's your answer to your question. Co-branding advantages. Strength of each brand supports the other. Disadvantage, loss of control. Another advantage opens up new markets. Disadvantages, negative effect if one brand has problems. Another advantage, lowers marketing communication costs. Disadvantages, overexposure. Slide number 19, co-branding relationships. Joint ventures like Visa or American Express affinity cards. Two internal brands are linked, like Procter & Gamble Scope and Crest. Multiple companies join to create a new brand, like Marriott Hotels and IKEA creating a new European hotel brand for millennials. Interesting. So for those of you traveling to Europe, check that out. Slide 20, this is a Venn diagram. I know some of you are having some conniptions here from high school. Packaging objectives to protect, communicate, and promote usage. All these are important aspects. Effective packaging, as I mentioned before, has aesthetics. Color plays a significant role in package design and in the entire branding strategy. Designs that are appropriate, interesting, and persuasive to the target market are critical. I don't know if they're still in vogue, but I remember back in the day, Fossil watches. Do people still wear Fossil watches out there? Is that still a brand? I don't know. I'm not a watch person. Anybody know if Fossil is a brand that's still sought after? Anybody? Okay. So back in the day, again, I haven't followed it. Back in the day, a Fossil watch came in this really sturdy container, like this steel canister. It looked like it was the most powerful thing, like it had to be put in a steel canister because otherwise it would explode all over you. It had to be contained. That was the message it gave off. I remember back in the day, in the 80s, I know I'm dating myself, in the 80s, Swatch watch. I don't know, do people still wear Swatch? Is it still a brand? Anybody heard of Swatch watch, or I'm dating myself? All right. So Swatch watch was a attempt of the Swiss company Swatch to enter the American market with these plastic watches. And I guess a plastic watch in those days was your typical Casio or Seiko watch, that you had a calculator on. Everybody thought they were the coolest thing since sliced bread when they had their calculator watch. But Swatch was super, super powerful and super cool with respect to its very, very nice looking container. Again, cylindrical, transparent, you could look at it, looked very cool, especially when you had light shining on and had a very, very good good look to it. I know now with sports cards have become the latest hit during the pandemic. Baseball cards, Topps has really done an amazing job in the way their cards look, and also the packaging is very, very attractive. Harmonizes with all elements of marketing mix. The package reinforces marketing communications by connecting advertising images, logo, pictures on the package to the customer. Slide 22, essential brand elements. We got to make sure about the legal requirements, marketing requirements, and consumer requirements. Let's look at this. Legal requirements: labels must meet federal, state, and even local rules and regulation, especially with nutrition facts. And that's really where I'm going into. The Food and Drug Administration, affectionately known as the FDA, requires all processed food companies to provide detailed nutritional information, clearly identifying calories, fats, carbohydrates, and other information. Other products must have warnings of a certain size that are easily read and understood by the consumer, especially like cigarettes. Some countries, I think like in Canada, they have pictures of a cancerous lung on the cigarette just to kind of turn you off of that. And there are warning labels: alcohol. Pregnant women should not be drinking alcohol. Also, many times, certain products are advertised on the radio and they say, like, okay, if you have a gambling problem, please call this and this number. Consumer requirements: consumers want to use products out of the box, and packaging label is the most convenient place for initial use instructions. You'll take the packaging label off, open it up. It's actually a brochure, a little mini brochure teaching you how to use it. Additionally, product precautions, simple assembly information, and appropriate age for product use may also be included on the package. Finally, marketing requirements. Since package labeling represents the last marketing opportunity before the purchase decision, as much label space as possible is allocated to marketing communication, because if not, you're really missing the boat here. Brand logo and product image and other relevant marketing messages take up the dominant space on the label. We're almost done over here. General warranties make broad promises about product performance and customer satisfaction, allows customers to return for a variety of reasons. Specific warranties offer explicit product performance promises related to components of the product. Auto warranties are specific, like for engines, drivetrains, or tires. Our final slide for tonight: warranties help define the brand. Cost versus benefit must be competitive within the industry. Hyundai uses warranty to build confidence in Korean cars, and especially like Hyundai, like in the beginning when Hyundai first came out back, I think it was 87, I think it was. I remember the first Hyundai, because I remember being in summer camp and my father coming to pick me up with his neighbor in his Hyundai. I was praying to God that it doesn't fall apart. It really looked bad. And now it looked horrible. It looked so horrible. It looked like something my grandson would drive around as a toy. Like if you went past 60 miles an hour, I was afraid something important would just like fall off. Like the quality was so poor. But now the quality is phenomenal. I mean, look at the Genesis, look at the Sonata. It's a good car. Believe me, it's amazing compared to what it was in the 80s. So, which one do you have? Oh, it's in a launch. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the Sonata. I'm talking about the Genesis. These are Sonatas. Okay, but if you're gonna get another car, get a Sonata. Sonata is a very, very good car. Okay, okay, that's what most people do. Conveys a message. Conveys a message to the customer about perceived quality and manufacturer commitment to customer satisfaction, especially with expensive products. Warranties can help in the final purchase decision, because the better the warranty, and of course, the better the perceived customer service, the more likely the people will be interested. Okay, that's the end of that show tonight. Thank you all for joining.